Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the part two of the series Discover Sodium Correction. So, as I said, the current topic that we are dealing with is considered as one of the complex topics for many medical students and also by practicing patients. So, we are in the game of breaking that step by step so that this um, knowledge about sodium and electrolyte balance, other imbalances, and how we are going to deal with patient presenting with them is going like we are going to do that with ease and grace. Before you continue watching this video, I would like to reiterate that we are going to do it in series, and it is going to be short contents every video. Uh, and if you have not watched the part one of the video, you're going to do that immediately after the video. That will be really productive for you. So let's begin. I will not waste much time. I'll start sharing the screen now. So this is Discover Sodium Correction Part 2, Calculating Sodium Deficit or Gain. In the first video, we had derived the formula to calculate water deficit or gain. And now in today Part 2 session, we are going to discuss about how we're going to calculate the sodium deficit or the gain. As it was earlier told to you in part 1, just few points to reiterate. So many formulas are there to correct hyponatremia, hypernatremia. Now, if you find literature, you'll find many, but all of them, when you're using it in clinical scenario, they will produce unpredictable changes. And the formulas assume a lot, as a constant, which is not true in clinical scenarios. So one of the things that they don't account for is they don't account for ongoing water loss or gain. Correction should not be more than 10 milliequivalents per day, either in case of hypernatremia or hyponatremia. Well, this was said even in the first part, but there is something which we are going to build on this. Okay, so that is this. So formulas don't account for ongoing water loss or gain. When we calculated water deficit or gain, it was not taking into account water loss or gain, ongoing that was. In the same way, we're going to build to one more step that it doesn't take into account also the salt loss or gain that is happening ongoingly. Okay, so what it means essentially is when the blood was taken, when you put the needle on the patient's vein and took the blood to calculate the sample, whatever the reading was there, the formula just takes into account only that. It doesn't take into account the physiological process or the pathological process that is undergoing inside the body to correct this abnormality or to produce this abnormality. Okay, so today's formula is this sodium deficit formula. So where you will find sodium deficit, there is a slight correction that I would like to make here in the slide. So it is sodium excess and not. So let me make that now only. Pardon me for this. Okay. So you see here in hypernatremia there is sodium excess. So for you to calculate how much of the sodium is excess, the formula you will use is total body water into sodium minus 140. Okay, this is the serum sodium concentration in that patient, and this is the total body weight of that patient, right? And you see, like, you're always going to get a positive number. So hypernatremia, the serum sodium is going to be above normal, which is 140, right? This is the formula to find how much of sodium is in excess in the patient. The same way, sodium deficit, which is calculated in hyponatremia, will be using this total body water into 140 minus serum sodium. So here you see again, you get the positive value here. 140 is considered normal, and hyponatremic serum value that you find in the patient, that is what you will be using here. Okay. So what is the assumption? The assumption that we make here is the patient is presenting with hyponatremia or hypernatremia only because there is salt deficit or salt excess with total body water remaining constant. Okay, that is one assumption for this formula. So any patient comes to you, you are finding this patient to be in hyponatremia or hypernatremia. The formula, when you are trying to identify whether the patient has how much of deficit is there in the patient in sodium or how much of gain is there in sodium, that time the assumption is that the water inside the patient, the total body water, is constant. So let's see how we got this formula. You don't have to memorize it there. We have better ways to do, that is understanding. Serum sodium concentration is equal to total body sodium by total body water. If you remember, even the part 1, when you want to calculate the water deficit or gain, it is the same formula that we used. The beginning formula is this. This is one which is logically understood. So to break this into equation, like, we will make it like this. So you see here, serum sodium concentration is equal to total body sodium divided by total body water. Okay, and serum sodium is something which we can measure in labs. Total body sodium is something which we don't find it. We have a range, but we don't use any test to measure total body sodium. Total body water is calculated. Okay, for any given body weight, we can calculate total body water, which I'll be discussing in the next part. So here in the same equation, how do you get total body sodium? Is total body sodium is equal to serum sodium multiplied by total body water. Yeah, the same equation. We are going to try to identify how much will be total body sodium using the same equation. Now using this, we are going to build on and identify the sodium deficit or sodium gain. Let's take first scenario of hypernatremia. So what happens in hypernatremia? So consider the patient has presented to you with hypernatremia. So he has total body sodium, which is on the higher hand, and that will be given by total body water of that patient and serum sodium concentration of that patient, which will be in hypernatremic range. That is more than 145, right? Just a second. Okay. So now, what would have happened to this patient when he was normal? So when he was normal, his serum sodium would be 140, total body water will be the same. Remember the assumption? And then total body sodium would have been, like, currently he has high, so it would have been X values less than the current existing value. Okay. So total body sodium when he was normal would be total body sodium that currently he has minus X. Okay, which he has now recently gained in hypernatremia, is equal to total body water into 140. So now what will follow is little bit of maths. So here total body sodium is equal to total body water into 140 plus X. When you take this X to the right hand side, this becomes plus X. And then what you're going to identify now is total body sodium. You can use this equation here, total body water into 140 plus X is equal to here total body sodium into serum sodium. Okay, and then again few more mathematical steps follow, and you will get the value of X is equal to total body water into serum sodium minus 140 in case of hypernatremia. Okay, one more thing that I need to tell you, whether in case of hyponatremia or hypernatremia, we have been discussing that we will not overcorrect it, like not more than 10 milliequivalents in a day. So you may not have to every time identify what is the sodium deficit to get to the normal most level. For example, consider the serum sodium in this patient was 160, and you will get a deficit of like total body water into 20. That would be the total deficit. But we are going to correct only 10 or 8 or sometimes 6. Like that, we will decide how much we need to correct. So in such cases, what you can do is, instead of using the value of 140 to which you want to bring, you can use the target sodium levels. For example, if the patient had a sodium level of 160 and my target is to get it to 150, I can use it here instead of 140, 150. That will give the deficit that is there. Sorry, that will give the excess of sodium that is there for a patient for whom the target we are trying to achieve is 160. Okay. So going to the next slide. So let's see what happens in hyponatremia. In hyponatremia, again, the starting formula is the same. Total body sodium is equal to serum sodium into total body water. So this patient who presents with hyponatremia, he has total body sodium which is less, and serum sodium will be in the hyponatremic range. Total body water will be constant. So what would have happened when he was normal? When he was normal, his total body sodium would have had more sodium than what he has now, that is plus X, that will be equal to giving a concentration of 140 in the normal range into total body water, which was constant. Now again, we are going to take the value for total body sodium now. What would have been the total body sodium in this equation when he was normal? So you will see here X is taken to right hand side, that becomes a negative sign. Again, few more mathematics steps will follow now. Here you are going to identify serum sodium into total body water is equal to 140 into total body water minus X. So the X would be total body water into 140 minus serum sodium. Again, you will see that serum sodium is in the hyponatremic range, so you'll get a positive number here. Okay. Or again, when you're in case of hyponatremia, also you don't have to correct to 140 every time. So that time you will be using it like this would be again. Pardon me here. There's one. This would be target sodium minus serum sodium. Okay, so as you can see, these equations can get confusing, especially for us science students. But now, as I can see, as I'm doing it, so definitely it is possible that we can get to master these equations. We have all learned maths also in the past. The equation can get confusing. Please try it with pen and paper, as I told you once. Try it on your own. Try to derive these equations, then you will find that it's very smooth. You can identify errors, the one which you were making for years and years also. Okay, so this will give a total sodium deficit of total body water into 140 minus serum sodium. That will be the salt deficit in the patient with hyponatremia. Okay, so now in case you are trying to correct it to not the normal range but a target range, then it will be x is equal to total body water into target sodium minus serum sodium. Okay, so in short, we are going to have this uh, finally corrected sodium excess, sodium deficit. Yeah. So sodium excess formula in hypernatremia, that would be total body water into sodium minus 140, and sodium deficit formula it would be in hyponatremia, and that is total body water into 140 minus sodium. And the assumption is sodium change is due to salt deficit or excess. So just one more interesting thing, let's compare with what we did in part 1. So you see here, when there is water deficit formula in hypernatremia or water excess formula in hyponatremia, there is not much of change. If you look, the whole of the formula is here for sodium excess in hypernatremia, total body water into sodium by sodium minus 140. But in hypernatremia, to calculate the water deficit, you just have to divide it by 140. Rest everything is the same. The same way in hyponatremia, when you're calculating sodium deficit, it is total body water into 140 minus sodium. But in hyponatremia, again, if you want to calculate how much is water excess, you just have to divide it by 140 again. Okay, and let's also compare the assumption. So when you're trying to identify sodium deficit or excess, it is considered that the water in the body is fixed. The total body water has not changed in the patient. The same way, when you're trying to calculate the water deficit or excess, the assumption is the sodium change that is happening when you're calculating water deficit. The sodium change that is happening is due to water deficit or water excess, and the total body sodium is the same. Okay, so now, as I told you again, just want to reiterate, to get water deficit or water gain or salt deficit or salt gain for a given number, like for a given value, like you want to identify how much of the sodium is deficit for this patient to get a total target sodium of 150, then you can calculate that number or like that deficit by using what is the target that you have chosen and replace that number that is there in the formula 140. Okay, so whatever the number, like for a patient with sodium as 120, you want it to correct to 125, and you want to identify how much is the sodium deficit that you want to replace to increase the number to 125. Instead of 140, you will be using the number 125. Like whatever the target sodium you want to reach, you can replace the number 140 with the target sodium, and you can find the value. Well, thanks again. I'm going to stop this sharing the screen now. Yeah. So as I told you, these videos are going to be short. At the same time, these are life saving. As you can see, this is not a one-time job. You're going to practice it till the time it becomes smooth for you. So after this video, immediately after this video, if you have not seen the part 1, kindly watch that. If you have already seen that, now sit together, use some 5 minutes, and practice deriving this formula, both for water deficit, water gain, and salt deficit and salt gain, using the basic formula, that is total body sodium is equal to sodium concentration is equal to total body sodium divided by total body water. This is the formula, the basic formula to start and derive both the parts that we did in part 1 and part 2. Okay, see you soon with the next part. Till that time, take care. Bye.